hate fantasy football.
It's God Bless Fantasy Football. Sausha Durkan, Andrew Rogers, and Sausha, please explain.
I'm so over it. I lost by 1.26 points. Again,
I think
for like the fourth week in a row, bro.
So we're talking about the God Bless Fantasy Football League, which we are still awaiting an awesome trophy courtesy of Trophy Smack, and I cannot wait for that to come in to show it off. So that trophy's on the line for somebody, and right now, Sausha is having a little trouble finding her feet as she moves forward.
You know what?
Throughout the season.
Melvin Gordon, I have a little bit on him in a minute, but touched the ball 3 freaking times.
He did, and he was very ineffective. 3 touches, 8 yards.
Thanks.
Not great.
Yep. Awesome.
But I will venture to say that you aren't the only person this week that is ticked off about how fantasy football went down to that Monday night football game. And it happened for a lot of teams. It happened for me in the league as well, because if Melvin Gordon would have touched the ball more, Latavius Murray would have had less touches, which my opponent started Latavius Murray this week.
Yeah.
It came down to Latavius Murray and the Chargers defense. If I would have, or I should take that back. If not, I would have rather started this person over that person, because I hate playing that game. I hate saying, if I would have started this person on my bench, then I would have won this week. It's like, no, that's point of fantasy. There's a point to that not happening, right? The Chargers, though, would have won me the week if Latavius Murray didn't have a huge week. So for me, yes, that was also something that I was struggling with last night to, I don't know. It's just a weird balance when it comes to Monday night games and you're wishing for a prayer. And then when that prayer isn't answered, you're like, why not me?
This is literally the 4th week in a row for me.
Yes, it is.
Of that.
Now,
and I move stuff around and I listen to our advice and I'll try to pick people up, but I didn't want to blow everything up last week. I'm telling you right now, I'm blowing my team up.
Now, Sausha, it could be worse. You could be team Max and Danielle, who lost by 0.08 points this week.
You know that GIF of the guy opening the window and he just jumps out of it? That would have been me if that was
Are you saying you're going to gift me Jonathan Taylor?
No, I'm not doing that.
Is that what you're telling me?
No, I will not be doing that.
Oh, so you were talking about a GIF. Got it.
A GIF. Like a gift.
You're right. It is a gift.
It is a
to
gift.
call it GIF.
You're
is
right. A GIF. Damn it! You got me again! Why is this my life?
Yeah, okay. 2 for 2. That's the end of the show.
And see you later.
This is great, too, because, gosh, it's so easy to mess with your brain. I feel like I'm like Patrick Jane from The Mentalist. And I'm just like implanting myself in Sasha's space, and she doesn't like me being there.
No.
And I am just wandering around. You can't get away from me. You're going to look around the corner. There I am.
I'm blaming it on being tired again.
Eating a jar of Jif peanut butter.
Which is the best peanut butter, by the way.
It is. Which is why they named that movie
nuts or no nuts? Chunky or non-chunky?
Non-chunky.
Thank God.
Non-chunky.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't
like nuts in my food. It freaks me out. I don't like the texture of nuts in my food. Nuts.
Neither do I.
Peanuts, cashews. Children. Goodness gracious. You know, like a peanut butter parfait at Dairy Queen? Can't do it. Like, I don't want the peanuts on there.
I can do it like mixed into ice cream because like if you get like the frozen Snickers, like the ice cream Snickers, like those are good.
I hate Snickers.
Well, I'm not like a huge fan of like Snickers, the candy, but like if you just put ice cream instead of nougat, like I can get past the peanuts in there. Give me a little bit of that caramel action. But if I go to like Cold Stone and I get to make my own, peanuts are never making it. I mean,
absolutely not.
It would take a gun to my head to put peanuts in my ice cream.
I know this sounds stupid because it's peanut butter, right? Like it's made of nuts.
Now I like,
but actual crushed up nuts then in said creamy peanut butter. No, thank you.
But see, peanut butter cookie dough is awesome. Have you ever had that in ice cream?
No.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I think not
This is now an ice cream
sponsored by the
podcast.
show. Not sponsored by the show. Ben and Jerry's has the Tonight Dough with Jimmy Fallon on it. I don't know if you ever see that on sale at the store. Of course, that always gets me. I spend way too much money on a pint of ice cream, and it's fantastic. The peanut butter cookie dough. Woo!
I don't know about that. Regular old chocolate chip cookie dough? Hell yeah.
Should we get into this?
Yeah, okay. Speaking of hell yeah.
Let's talk about Waiver Wire Week 7. I'll be frank with you. I don't love anybody this week.
No.
But here's what I'm going to do. Because it's my show, not yours. Well, it's Sasha's too. But here's what I'm going to do, and then she'll do something else because it's her show too. I'm going to pick up somebody that I need to fill a spot on my roster.
Okay.
Because I have plenty of Eagles on my fantasy rosters, which include A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders in a league. I need to replace those guys. That's how I'm looking at it this week.
Okay.
This is not I'm attacking the waiver wire and getting that one guy that's there because that's not happening this week. No. It wasn't the Kenneth Walker of last week. If Ramondre Stevenson was there last week, somehow, some way, it wasn't him last week.
Right.
It wasn't Eno Benjamin last week. This week, it's, hey, who do I replace? And I think that's a great way to attack week 7. Because there weren't a lot of major injuries that allowed somebody to step up. Now it's just like, hey, can I choose right? Let's go back and look at the previous weeks, or let's look at their career and say, maybe it's time to put this guy in and just hope he has a big week. I think that's what we're setting up week 7 to be.
Hope. Like a hope and a prayer. Like I need both.
Because for one, I have Jalen Hurts, right?
Yeah.
I have Jalen Hurts in 3 leagues, which was a great fantasy draft pick by me, tooting my own horn. Toot, toot. But who do I replace him with this week? Because I never hold a quarterback. Yeah. I always stream one the week my quarterback goes down and just hope the rest of the way Jalen Hurts stays healthy, right? This week for me, it's Marcus Mariota or Matt Ryan. That's who I'm looking at. There is a big list of people I can choose from, and I'll read them off. But I'm going to tell you why I'm going with one of these 2 guys. Russell Wilson is available. Bleh. Jameis Winston most likely isn't healthy. Trevor Lawrence had his fantasy week saved by 2 rushing touchdowns last week, but only had 165 yards on top of that. Plus, he gets the Giants defense, which has relatively been good this season. I look at Carson Wentz, who's not playing anymore. Daniel Jones is not an effective fantasy quarterback. There aren't enough passing touchdowns. It's always the Saquon Barkley show. Good on the Giants, though, for winning these football games. It's been fantastic to watch. Then it goes down to Marcus Mariota, Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Ryan, Jacoby Brissett, Ryan Tannehill, and so forth. When I look at that list of names, none of those names pop off to me. 0.
And we can only talk about Jimmy Garoppolo so much on this podcast.
And Jimmy Garoppolo is not a good fantasy quarterback.
No.
He's not. He's a great quarterback. He's a good person to have on the football field when you have a great defense with him, but he's not a good quarterback.
Yeah.
I think I told you last week that I started Jimmy G in one league, and I also said that he's not a great quarterback. But
yeah,
he could maybe suffice. He didn't. So I'm not going to place him against Kansas City this week, despite it maybe being a shootout. No, I don't ever see that with Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers. But I look at Matt Ryan, and he's playing Tennessee. Tennessee has one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL. Matt Ryan, at least over the course of last week, because Jonathan Taylor was out, they were dealing with a pool of backups. He had to throw the ball a lot, right? The backups were productive. Don't get me wrong. But Matt Ryan threw the ball for over 300 yards for the first time in a long time.
Wow.
389 yards. He threw 42 completions, had 3 passing touchdowns. Before that, he threw 300 yards against Tennessee back in week 4. Now he gets Tennessee again. He's in Tennessee this time, but I almost am leaning Matt Ryan's direction just because the numbers are there. Right? At least against Tennessee, they are this year. And last week against Jacksonville, he was awesome. in regards to fantasy production. I look at Marcus Mariota this week. He's playing Cincinnati. Marcus Mariota, though, is one of those guys that either scores a lot of touchdowns or doesn't get you a lot of points. So if I'm going to pick a quarterback, I think I'm leaning Matt Ryan. If you need somebody to replace somebody this week in your lineup, whether they have a bye, whether you just need a replacement, Matt Ryan's my guy.
All right. I like it. I had Jameis Winston on my list only if it looks like he'll be healthy. Solid streaming option for week 7. Saints play the Cardinals, who entered week 6, allowing the 9th most fantasy football points to quarterbacks. This can help him get on track, assuming that he at least has one of Michael Thomas or Chris Olave.
Another good play. He's got great weapons.
If he's healthy.
I think Olave's back this week, too.
Is he?
So you surround a man with great weapons, he can be successful. Now I go into the wide receiver category, right? You have to replace A.J. Brown this week. You have to replace many other people this week. I know I had to take somebody else off of my list. Can't remember who exactly that was, but I needed at least one replacement this week for A.J. Brown. So what am I going to do next, right? Well, Rondale Moore is available in a lot of leagues. Rondale Moore, he's owned by 46% of all fantasy leagues, at least in Yahoo formats. Marquise Brown, season-ending injury. He won't be there. DeAndre Hopkins is back. Plus, they added Robbie Anderson, who just got kicked off the football field in Carolina this past weekend. He will not even be playing. And I can assure you that because it's Thursday Night Football. And there's no way that he's going to have the playbook fully understood by that point. In time. Will he be on the field? Maybe. I guess they could use him in different ways, but he'll be very limited if he is playing. He's not even worth a start. I kind of like Rondale Moore this week. I also like Wan'Dale Robinson, the Nebraska boy for a couple of years, and then a Kentucky graduate. So we know him well in the state of Nebraska, but in his first game, his first NFL game, he catches a touchdown. He catches, what was it, like 3 balls, 4 balls, 46 yards, something like that?
3 or 4. Yep, for 37 touchdown.
He's somebody that I'm looking to snag just because he brings a piece to that receiving core that they've been missing for a while.
And they're banged up.
Completely banged up.
So, yeah.
So maybe Daniel Jones can continue to find that weapon. And I think they're, at least in New York, based on who they have in their lineup, they look at Wan'Dale Robinson as a guy that could potentially be their wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
If they use him that way, great. If they don't, well, who cares? He's like 9% owned, whatever he is. But he's the type of guy that I look at and say yes to this week for a potential replacement.
Yeah, especially with that matchup that they have this week. I think he's got upside.
Jacksonville gives up a lot of points. A lot of points. In a deep league, maybe he's a flex play, right?
Right.
Who knows? Kadarius Toney dealing with that hamstring injury. Kenny Golladay, his knee. Where else are you going? Daniel Bellinger? Like he's been okay from the tight end position, but you also need receivers to be effective.
Yes. Especially
Kadarius Toney's awesome when he's healthy. But Kadarius Toney reminds me a lot of Sterling Shepard. When they're healthy, they're awesome. When they're not, what are you supposed to do with these guys other than be like, gosh, I can't believe I drafted him again this year. And, well, he's not playing.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah, exactly.
He's never on the field. Wan'Dale Robinson, though, he could be a low-key sleeper for a lot of people. 8% owned. I was close with 9. I was
guessed. Like, it's 8.
Darnell Mooney is available in a lot of leagues. Chase Claypool is available in a lot of leagues. Those are more securing options, right? Securing. Like I feel more secure taking those guys. I don't think that was the right word there, but I'm just gonna keep talking. Secure. Yeah, probably right. Yeah, whatever. Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool. Those are guys that you know what they're going to get, right? You could be okay with them starting them and them getting you 10 points or 8 points. It's kind of where they're at right now. Chase Claypool, though, he has a much bigger ceiling than Darnell Mooney, just because of just the fact that they throw the football more in Pittsburgh than they do in Chicago. Chase Claypool caught a touchdown last week. He also had, I think, roughly 90 yards. He looked really good last year whenever he had Big Ben throwing him the football too. I mean, they like to use Chase Claypool when he goes deep, and why not? Deontay Johnson stays close. Chase Claypool goes long. George Pickens, great other option there. There's a lot of people to throw to, but maybe you guess right. Guess right this week with Chase Claypool.
Cross your fingers that you guess right.
So those are just 4 receivers that I'm looking at to replace.
You have anybody?
1 or 2.
Running back?
I don't have any running backs on this list because nobody stuck out to me. I did, however, run into an issue with Dalvin Cook being on a bye this week. However, when I looked at the rest of my team, I said, I have other options on my bench to replace him. Like I personally like Raheem Mostert this week. I'm assuming he's already on somebody's team, but they're using him as an RB1 down in Miami right now.
Yeah.
82% owned in most leagues. He had a big week 5, didn't have as big of a week in week 6 against Minnesota, which we actually thought he could break out in week 6. He didn't, but there's always that potential for him too if he stays on the field.
Yeah, that's true. I need to really reassess my running back
let's
situation here.
Have an intervention.
Oh my goodness gracious. I put in 2 waivers this morning because I'm just like so freaking frustrated. The problem is that Jonathan Taylor went down on me. Sure. I'm not going to give him up though. So
you could in the right trade.
I could. Melvin Gordon pissed me off. And so I put Latavius Murray on here because he operated as Denver's primary running back on Monday. 66 yards on 15 carries.
Mine as well.
Just 1. Melvin Gordon only had 3 carries and then was benched for seemingly no reason whatsoever. So which running back will lead next week against the Jets? No one really knows. But as of right now, Murray has to be considered the leader just based off what happened yesterday.
I guess if there is a running back, now that I thought about it, Kenyon Drake could be somebody that you look at just because he had more touches, more productive touches than J.K. Dobbins, but Dobbins is so much better.
Yeah.
So much more talented than Kenyon Drake and so much younger. And we know that running backs tend to fizzle out once they get older just because they're bruisers throughout their entire career.
On your body.
Yeah. So J.K. Dobbins to me is still the number 1 guy, even though he didn't have a great week. But if you're looking at somebody and you're like, well, I'll base it off of last week's production, Kenyon Drake could be that. Yeah. But I wouldn't be comfortable adding Kenyon Drake and dropping somebody else on my team that has either more involvement in offenses
potential
or
upside.
Is just I want to replace this guy for this guy. It's and that's not for me with Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do, but
this week is
I might
it's
actually
interesting.
Pick him up based off what you just said because I'm desperate.
It's interesting just looking at everything and how things have played out. It's like I just don't know. And keep in mind, Cordero Patterson and Elijah Mitchell should be coming back in 2 to 3 weeks. So those are guys to, just watch out for. I doubt anybody dropped them. Most leagues have IR spots. But aside from that, maybe that means you have to replace Jeff Wilson now, or you have to replace Tyler Algier or Caleb Huntley or whoever you have starting in that Atlanta backfield. So bye weeks are bye weeks. You're going to run into issues all the time. You're going to have to guess. As much as people want to tell you that they have your answer, they don't. Nobody has
Everyone's
the answer.
Guessing.
I was in a daily fantasy lineup this past week, and I lost by 0.5 because of the way that Kyler Murray ended up playing and for the way Eno Benjamin ended up playing. So I
would just throw something.
In those,
I don't know what, but
in those leagues, it's kind of like, dealing with an auction. Throw a shoe at Kyler Murray. Who knows? Speaking of people that would do obnoxious things like throwing a shoe at a football player. How about that guy on Sunday Night Football, the Phillies fan that ran out with the team through the tunnel? Did you see that?
No.
Oh my gosh. Please go back and look up this video. It was one fan and he was in the mix of the football players running out, waving the towel. He was so hyped up. And then all you see is the security people walking him off the field. And it had me thinking, and this is a question that I will present on a later podcast whenever we start to launch more podcasts down the road.
It's amazing.
Here's my thing. Is it worth it? Is it worth getting arrested for 25 seconds of coolness, I guess. Like, I wouldn't say fame.
But if it goes viral, I mean, he'll probably get an interview or two. This headline: Eagles fan runs out of tunnel with team. No thanks to Make-A-Wish. He was just intoxicated.
So, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it was like a cool thing that you can tell somebody.
Yeah.
But now you have this on your record, unless you have a good lawyer that can like make it become, a smaller charge. But more often than not, you spend a night in jail because of stuff like that.
Yeah. No, thank you. I think I'd pass.
Is that worth it? Like,
nah.
To me, how much money did you pay to go to this game?
Right. And then
NFL
you don't even get to watch it.
Expensive.
They are.
So how much money did you pay for one? But two, who was working the gate? Like,
how did you even get back there?
Like, were you a VIP and you were already in the tunnel, like high-fiving people? Because if so, then you paid more money to be at this game, to sneak under the rope, to run out on the field. And okay, so yeah, you're 80 years old, right? You're telling your grandkids someday, oh, I ran on the football field when Philly beat the Cowboys back this day. You're not even doing it during an iconic game. Right? At least do it during the Super Bowl. You'll at least maybe there would be a memorial outside the stadium for you. Yeah. For a lady or maybe the people that you broke the ankles of because they just fall to their death right there like a robot. It's not worth it to me. I think you're pretty dumb to do some stunt like that.
Yeah. And this has been the portion of the podcast called "We Are Now Your Parents." Thank you.
Only one parent in the room. I still act like a child, and I think even when I do become a parent, my maturity level will remain at about an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old.
It's difficult sometimes to be like. Yeah, I won't even get into funny kids stories, but it's really hard not to laugh sometimes.
Safe to say, though, let's retract here. Let's get back.
Pulling it back in.
It's a rough week.
It is.
It's just rough.
Great.
I think that's the best way to put it.
At the top of my notes, I literally put TBH. This is an exciting week, but we'll have a talk. We can chat.
It's something to just watch out for. Pay attention to our show on Sunday morning because that's when I think we'll have a better idea of the best players to start. And if they are still available at that time, you'll know as quickly as we'll know. So come to our show. We'll do the work for you. We'll do the research. We'll figure out what you need to do to place this person in the right spot or put your team in the best position to win. It's been a tough couple of weeks. I think it's been tough for a lot of teams, not just your team. Don't even look at just how your production has gone and just throw in the towel now, because there are other teams in the league that are having just as much trouble winning their fantasy matchup because let's be frank, the NFL has not been fun to watch lately.
Right.
There haven't been a lot of high scoring games. There haven't been a lot of, we know this guy is going to go off this week. There hasn't been a lot of that. So it's not just you.
Speaking of not fun, Thursday night football this week.
We have the Cardinals and
the Saints.
The Saints.
Both are 2-4.
Both. Well, let's start here. Kyler Murray is okay.
Yes.
One is still wondering who's starting for them this week, because if Jameis Winston does not play and Andy Dalton has been shaken up,
right?
Do they try something new? Yes? No? Maybe so? Is this a game where Eno Benjamin and Alvin Kamara go off? Yes? No? Maybe so?
That'd be great for people who picked up Eno.
Does D-Hop come back?
Told him to.
Does D-Hop come back and be overly productive? I don't think so. If you actually look at his fantasy numbers, he's been declining over the course of last year and the year before that, despite the touchdowns. And he'll be matched up with Lattimore. So I don't love that play. Is Olave back? Is he healthy? Concussions have been weird. They've been tough. Miami basically got social shamed to sit Tua for the past few weeks because they were like, Tua could come back this week. And then they're like, no, actually, we don't want to deal with that, what we had to deal with. We ended up having to fire our team doctor because of it. Not to say that the team doctor wasn't at fault at all. Right. But still, because of all of the shame that followed that event, you have to do something, right? That's the world we live in today. If you're shamed about something, you have to get rid of someone.
Well, that's true. I was just thinking as you were saying that, like, somebody has to fall on the sword. And unfortunately, in that situation, I mean,
was anybody wrong though? I mean, like the people were right in that instance. I mean, if you saw the way that his hands and wrists locked up,
It was
he
was
looked
pretty
like he was
gruesome.
under a spell. It looked like an
Yes.
episode of Stranger Things.
Yeah, it was not good. And I don't really care what anybody else's thoughts are on this. He shouldn't have been out there in the first place in that game, given what had happened like 4 days prior.
Mhm.
So
he about toppled over because he
Yes.
looked so drunk on the
Yeah.
field after that
Yep.
whiplash. So,
Yeah.
gosh, we always get off topic.
I know we do. I know we do.
But hear us out here. We're here for you. We're here to help you win your league, especially going into week 7 this week. Again, we will be back on Sunday morning. Check us out. God Bless Fantasy Football on Hurrdat Sports. We'll be live on YouTube and Twitter. But most importantly, have a great Tuesday.
Yes.
This is going to be a good day. Put some waivers in if you need to, but if you want to sit like me and just see who's there on Wednesday morning, that's what I'm going to do. So keep in mind the guys that we did. If you're desperate like Sausha, maybe throw some. I feel like you're just throwing lighter fluid into the fire at this point and just hoping for the best.
Mm-hmm.
Do that too. There's 2 approaches here that you just gathered today. There are many things a man can do with his time, but none are better than this, despite some of these last few weeks. God bless you, and God bless fantasy football.